The summer of 1976, New York City. A city that never sleeps. But this summer, fear stalked the streets. A killer lurked in the shadows. People were afraid to go out at night. The whispers started. Who would be next? The newspapers called him the .44 caliber killer. He left a trail of terror, 6 dead, 7 wounded. The city was on edge. The police were baffled. Every day the fear grew stronger. The killer was always one step ahead. He seemed to vanish into thin air, but the killer was not a phantom. He was a man named David Berkowitz. David Berkowitz, a name whispered in fear, a name forever linked to terror. He called himself the son of Sam. He sent letters to the police, letters to the newspapers, taunting them, mocking them. The letters were filled with ramblings, disturbing messages, crazy talk, but they also held clues. Clues that the police desperately needed. Berkowitz craved attention. He wanted the world to know his name. He was no longer content to lurk in the shadows. He was ready to step into the light. And the city waited, in fear, for the son of Sam to strike again. He said the demon commanded him to kill. A demon that resided in his neighbor's dog, to paint the streets of New York City red. Before we continue with the video, we would like to request you to please subscribe to the channel and share the video. It will be really helpful for us. Thank you. David Richard Berkowitz, born on June 1st, 1953, in Brooklyn, New York. A seemingly ordinary beginning, but fate had other plans. He was adopted shortly after birth. His adoptive parents, Nathan and Pearl Berkowitz, longed for a child. They showered him with love, but David remained distant, withdrawn. He struggled to connect with others. He was plagued by feelings of abandonment. Rejection gnawed at him. He felt like an outsider, an outcast. His adoptive parents tried to understand him. The couple were Jewish hardware store retailers of modest means and childless in middle age. They reversed the order of the boy's first and middle names and gave him their own surname, raising the young David Richard Berkowitz as their only child. Berkowitz was frequently bullied for being Jewish. Journalist John Vincent Sanders wrote that Berkowitz's childhood was somewhat troubled. Although of above-average intelligence, he lost interest in his education at an early age and became infatuated with petty larceny. He suffered head injuries as a child. Neighbors and relatives would recall Berkowitz as difficult, spoiled, and a bully. His adoptive parents consulted at least one psychotherapist due to his misconduct, but his misbehavior never resulted in a legal intervention or serious mention in his school records. They sought help for his emotional troubles, but nothing seemed to work. David retreated further into himself, a darkness growing inside him. As David grew older, his problems intensified. He became increasingly disruptive, angry. He lashed out at his parents, at his teachers. He seemed to find solace only in solitude. He developed a fascination with fire, the flickering flames, the destructive power. It both terrified and intrigued him. He started setting small fires. The thrill of it was intoxicating. He began to fantasize about violence, about revenge. He felt powerless in his own life, but in his fantasies he was in control. He was powerful. By the time he graduated high school, David was a ticking time bomb, filled with rage, consumed by dark thoughts. He was lost, and he was about to drag New York City into his personal hell. In 1971, at age 17, Berkowitz joined the United States Army. He hoped it would give him structure, discipline, a sense of purpose, but the Army only amplified his demons. He excelled in marksmanship. He was drawn to the power of weapons, the feel of a gun in his hand, the control it gave him. It was a dangerous fascination. He was involved in several violent incidents, fights with fellow soldiers, outbursts of anger. He was spiraling out of control, but no one intervened. After 3 years, he was honorably discharged. He returned to New York City, changed, hardened. His time in the army had not tamed his demons. It had unleashed them. In June 1974, he located his birth mother, Betty. After a few visits, she disclosed the details of his birth. The news greatly disturbed Berkowitz. Berkowitz's discovery of his birth details as the primary crisis of his life, a revelation that shattered his sense of identity. In 1976, he went to work as a driver for the Co-op City Taxi Company. He subsequently had several non-professional jobs and at the time of his arrest was working as a letter sorter for the United States Postal Service. July 29, 1976, 1:10 a.m., the sweltering heat of a New York City summer. Donna Loria, 18, an emergency medical technician, and her friend Jody Valenti, 19, a nurse, were sitting in Valenti's double-parked Oldsmobile, a quiet street in the Pelham Bay neighborhood of the Bronx. Young love, unaware of the danger lurking in the shadows. Loria opened the car door to leave and noticed a man quickly approaching. Startled and angered by the man's sudden appearance, she said, "Now what is this?" The man produced a gun from the paper bag he carried and crouched. Bracing one elbow on his knee, he aimed his weapon with both hands and fired. Loria was struck by one bullet that killed her instantly. Valenti was shot in her thigh, and a third bullet missed both women. The shooter turned and walked away quickly. Valenti survived her injury and said she did not recognize the killer. She described him as a white male in his 30s with a fair complexion. His hair was short, dark, and curly in a mod style, the first victims of a nightmare. The city was in shock. Fear gripped the hearts of young lovers. The police searched for answers. Who was this killer? Why? Days turned into weeks. The killer remained silent. The city held its breath, waiting, wondering, when would he strike again? Then, another attack. October 23, 1976, a similar shooting occurred in a secluded residential area of Flushing, Queens, next to Bound Park. Carl Denaro, 20, a Citibank security guard, and Rosemary Keenan, 18, a Queens College student, were sitting in Keenan's parked car when the windows suddenly shattered. "I felt the car exploded," Carl said later. Carl survived. Rosemary was seriously injured. The son of Sam had struck again. He seemed to revel in the terror he was inflicting. The city was his playground, and the people were his prey. The son of Sam's reign of terror continued. The body count rises. He became bolder, more brazen. He no longer hid in the shadows. January 30th, 1977. At about 12:40 a.m., Secretary Christine Freund, 26, and her fiancé, bartender John Deal, 30, were sitting in Deal's car near the Forest Hills Liar station in Queens, preparing to drive to a dance hall after having seen the movie Rocky. 3 gunshots penetrated the car. In a panic, Deal drove away for help. He sustained minor superficial injuries, but Freund was shot twice and died several hours later at the hospital. Neither victim had seen their attacker. At about 3 a.m. on April 17, 1977, Alexander Esau, 20, a tow truck operator, and Valentina Suriani, 18, a Lehman College student and an aspiring actress and model, were sitting in a car belonging to Esau's brother on the Hutchinson River Parkway service road in the Bronx. A resident of a nearby building heard 4 shots and called the police. Suriani, who was sitting in the driver's seat, was shot once and Esau twice, both in the head. Suriani died at the scene and Esau died in the hospital several hours later without being able to describe his attacker. Police said the weapon used for the crime was the same as the one which they had suspected in the earlier shootings. On June 26, 1977, Salvatore Lupo, 20, a mechanic's helper, and Judy Placido, 17, a recent high school graduate, had left the LFS discotheque in Bayside, Queens, and were sitting in Lupo's parked car at about 3 a.m. when 3 gunshots blasted through the vehicle. Lupo was wounded in the right forearm, while Placido was shot in the right temple, shoulder, and back of the neck. Both victims survived their injuries. The city was paralyzed by fear. The police were working around the clock. Behind the mask of madness was David Berkowitz. The pressure mounted with each attack. The NYPD was under intense scrutiny. The media hounded them for answers. But the son of Sam was a ghost. He seemed to vanish into thin air. Detectives worked tirelessly, but each one led to a dead end. The killer was always one step ahead. The city was on edge. People were afraid to go out at night. The once vibrant streets of New York City were eerily quiet. The son of Sam had cast a long shadow over the city that never sleeps. Amidst the dead ends and frustration, a glimmer of hope emerged. A pattern, a connection. The killer used the same gun in each attack, a .44 caliber bulldog revolver, a distinctive weapon. Ballistics reports confirmed it. The bullets recovered from the crime scenes matched. It was the same gun, the same killer. The son of Sam was leaving his deadly signature on the city. The police now had a focus. Find the gun, find the killer. They launched a massive search. Gun shops, pawn shops, the black market. They followed every lead, every whisper, every rumor. The pressure intensified. The city held its breath. Could this be the break they had been waiting for? Could this be the clue that would lead them to the son of Sam? At about 3 a.m. on April 17, 1977, Alexander Esau, 20, a tow truck operator, and Valentina Suriani, 18, a Lehman College student and an aspiring actress and model, were sitting in a car belonging to Esau's brother on the Hutchinson River Parkway service road in the Bronx, about a block from Suriani's home and only a few blocks away from the scene of the Loria Valenti shooting. A resident of a nearby building heard 4 shots and called the police. Suriani, who was sitting in the driver's seat, was shot once and Esau twice, both in the head. Suriani died at the scene, and Esau died in the hospital several hours later without being able to describe his attacker. Police said the weapon used for the crime was the same as the one which they had suspected in the earlier shootings. Police discovered a handwritten letter near the bodies of Esau and Suriani, written mostly in block capitals with a few lowercase letters, and addressed to NYPD Captain Joseph Borelli. With this letter, Berkowitz identified himself as son of Sam for the first time. The press had previously dubbed the killer the .44 caliber killer because of his weapon of choice. The letter was initially withheld from the public, but some of its contents were revealed to the press, and the name Son of Sam quickly replaced the old name. The letter expressed the killer's determination to continue his work and taunted police for their fruitless efforts to capture him. In full, with misspellings intact, the letter read, "I am deeply hurt by you calling me a hater. I am not, but I am a monster. I am the son of Sam. I am a little brat, and to stop me, you must kill me. Attention all police, shoot me first, shoot to kill or else. Keep out of my way or you will die. Papa Sam is old now. He needs some blood to preserve his youth." On May 30th, 1977, Daily News columnist Jimmy Breslin received a handwritten letter from someone who claimed to be the .44 caliber killer. The letter inside read, "Hello from the gutters of NYC, Mr. Breslin, sir. Don't think that because you haven't heard from me for a while that I went to sleep. No, rather I am still here, like a spirit roaming the night, thirsty, hungry, seldom stopping to rest, anxious to please Sam. I love my work. Now the void has been filled. Perhaps we shall meet face to face someday, or perhaps I will be blown away by cops with smoking .38 or..." Fate intervened on a hot summer night. On July 31st, 1977, the son of Sam struck again, this time in Brooklyn. Secretary Stacy Moskowitz and clothing salesman Robert Violante, both 20, were sitting in Violante's car, which was parked under a streetlight near a city park in Bath Beach on their first date. A single gunshot. Stacy was killed instantly. Robert was blinded, but this time there was a witness. A woman walking her dog nearby. She had seen the killer, a young man. She had seen his car, a yellow 1970 Ford Galaxy. She had memorized the license plate number. The police finally had what they needed. A solid lead, a description of the killer, a description of his car, a license plate number. The net was closing in on the son of Sam. The license plate number was the key. The police ran it through their database. A match. The yellow 1970 Ford Galaxy was registered to a David Berkowitz, an address in Yonkers, New York. On August 10, 1977, police cars raced to the address. A nondescript apartment building. They surrounded the building, waiting, watching. Then they saw him, David Berkowitz, emerging from the building, carrying a paper bag. He walked towards his car and got inside. Detective John Falotico approached the driver's side of the car and pointed his gun close to Berkowitz's temple. A paper bag containing a .44 caliber bulldog revolver of the type identified in ballistics tests was found next to Berkowitz in the car. Berkowitz then stated flatly, "Well, you got me." Falotico remembered the big, inexplicable smile on the man's face. "Now that I've got you," Detective Falotico said to the suspect. "Who have I got?" "You know," the man said in what the detective remembered was a soft, almost sweet voice. "No, I don't. You tell me." The man turned his head and said, "I'm Sam." "You're Sam? Sam who?" "Sam, David Berkowitz." A look of resignation on his face. He didn't resist. He didn't run. He knew it was over. The son of Sam's reign of terror was over. Captured, not in a hail of gunfire, not in a dramatic chase, but in a quiet Yonkers neighborhood. At the police station, Berkowitz was calm. He spoke freely. He confessed to the shootings in chilling detail. He described each attack, each victim. His words sent chills down the spines of the seasoned detectives. He explained his motives. He claimed he was following the orders of a demon that possessed his neighbor's dog, Sam, the son of Sam. The detectives listened, taking notes, trying to make sense of the senseless. Berkowitz seemed relieved, as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. He had terrorized a city, he had taken innocent lives, and now he was ready to pay the price. But his confession raised more questions than it answered. Was he telling the truth? Was he insane? Or was he a cold-blooded killer hiding behind a mask of madness? The courtroom buzzed with anticipation. The trial of the century was about to begin. David Berkowitz, the son of Sam, stood accused of 6 murders. The eyes of the world were on him. 3 separate mental health examinations determined Berkowitz was competent to stand trial. Despite this, defense lawyers advised Berkowitz to enter a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, but he refused. Berkowitz appeared calm in court on May 8, 1978, as he pleaded guilty to all of the shootings. At his sentencing 2 weeks later, Berkowitz caused an uproar when he attempted to jump out of a window of the 7th floor courtroom. After he was restrained, he repeatedly chanted, "Stacy," his last victim, and shouted, "I'd kill her again, I'd kill them all again." The court ordered another psychiatric examination before sentencing could proceed. During the evaluation, Berkowitz drew a sketch of a jailed man surrounded by numerous walls. At the bottom he wrote, "I am not well at all." Nonetheless, Berkowitz was again found competent to stand trial. On June 12, 1978, Berkowitz was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for each murder, to be served consecutively. Despite prosecutors' objections, the terms of Berkowitz's guilty plea made him eligible for parole in 25 years. The son of Sam was gone. David Berkowitz was locked away. But the city of New York would never be the same. The summer of fear had left an indelible mark on its soul. The carefree spirit of the city was gone, replaced by a lingering sense of vulnerability, a darkness that clung to its alleyways and parks, the places where the son of Sam had stalked his prey. Couples were afraid to hold hands in public, to linger too long in parked cars. The fear was palpable, a constant reminder of the city's brush with evil. The son of Sam had exposed the city's underbelly, its vulnerability, its capacity for darkness. And in the aftermath, New York City was forced to confront its own mortality. The families of the victims were left to pick up the pieces, to navigate a world without their loved ones, their lives forever altered by the senseless acts of one man. They grappled with their grief, their anger, their search for meaning in the midst of chaos. Some found solace in their faith, others in the support of their community. The city rallied around them, offering counseling, support groups, memorials to honor the victims, to ensure that their lives and their untimely deaths would never be forgotten. The son of Sam may have taken their loved ones, but he would not take their spirit, their resilience, their determination to find peace in the face of unimaginable loss. David Berkowitz has been denied parole till now and remains behind bars. His next parole hearing is scheduled for May 2026.